This is one industry where lot of efforts have to be put. Right from the days you are an executive, you have to be having the passion towards quality, passion towards pharmaceutical operations, and see how you can upgrade. The moment I joined in Neopharma, I was also given an additional responsibility of regulatory affairs at the time of joining. So this was a complete new setup. It was a multi-billion-dollar group. I had an opportunity to meet Dr. Abdul Kalam. He came for the inauguration. I'm blessed, I can tell you, having met him within a year of joining the company. Keep learning curve as a top priority. That's most important rather than salaries and designations and other things. This is an industry where a lot of patience is required, and people want to have fast money. Everybody wants to become a managing director in a short span. It's impossible.
Welcome to the podcast. Today we have Mr. G.N. Prashanth. He was the Senior Vice President, Corporate Quality at Granules India Limited. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks.
So we would like to know your journey into the pharma world first.
Yeah, basically I joined pharmacy and completed my MPharm in the year 1992. So I was lucky for getting in good professors. So I did my MPharm in pharmaceutical chemistry. Then I got a campus interview from Cipla. So I decided to join Cipla. The salaries were very good at that point of time. And uh, I was very casual in the beginning. Then the Cipla environment is one which makes everybody gets committed to the work. So that's a phenomenal company, a great organization, and the learning is what they believe in. And I was lucky enough to have a director like Dr. Bami. He took about 4 of us from the campus. He personally gave assignments to us.
Wow.
That was phenomenal actually. And every 3 months he used to call us for a meeting. He used to review the progress of those assignments. So the hierarchy was very lean at that point of time in Cipla. So we got a complete environment where we could work on our own, learn things from the seniors, and learning was given utmost importance there. So that is how the journey began. Basically started with the basic activities in QC like the sampling activity, then the chemical tests which were given to us, then slowly learned all the instrumentation part. So 3 years I worked in quality control. Then I was selected by Dr. Nayak, and one day he told me you have to move into QA. So he pushed me into the QA role, and I was eventually made as a site QA head in the year 1996, 95, 96.
So pharma was always there in your vision even during your educational
Not
journey?
exactly. I wanted to get into medical, and as pharmacists, I believe people who doesn't get into engineering, doesn't get into
That's true.
medical, enter pharmacy. So I did not get a good score in medical. My dad told that there's a donation sheet and you can join a particular college. I told no, I don't want to pay donation, and join pharmacy college. The fees was some 430 rupees a year to be precise. So I joined Government College of Pharmacy.
Oh, that's really nice. So your first job, sir, how was it? Did you ever imagine that you would enter Cipla as soon as you finished your MPharm?
Not exactly, but somewhere 2 months before our thesis submission. So there was a campus interview, and 4 of us from our batch got selected. And Cipla salaries were the highest during that point of time when compared to the other companies in and around Bangalore. So Cipla had a great name at that point of time, and even today, of course. So I decided to join Cipla.
And after Cipla, you moved into AstraZeneca.
AstraZeneca, that's right.
So, did you see any culture change? Was there any culture shock?
Absolutely. I worked 4 years in Cipla where speed was the key essence, and quality systems and quality was given utmost importance. When we moved to multinational, I saw that things were very slow. Things were moving at its own pace actually. It was its own pace, and the decision making processes were very hierarchical based actually. And in Cipla, things were very fast. Things were very fast, several regulatory inspections, and the way they were thinking was far ahead. Let me quote one example here of Dr. Bami. He used to bring a lot of international visitors. There was no ICH guidelines at that point of time. This all eventually came after 2000. He used to tell, in Cipla we are not interested in the assay of a product. We are confident it will be 99.9. We are interested in what that 0.1% is all about. So this was his statement way back in 92 to 96, during the period which I heard during his rounds in the lab and other places. So that was the thought process at that point of time. Later all these LCMS, GCMS and all those things came, but his vision was up to that level. And multinationals, they have their own pace, their own decision making process. Things were little slow.
So how did you manage this culture shocks?
It was a shock. I was heading Cipla Bangalore QA site QA, and moving into the multinational, it was very difficult to move things actually. Luckily, I had the MD of the company, who was Mr. A.R. Hegde. He is no more now. He is one of my mentors actually. He gave utmost importance to quality, and my boss, Mr. Dr. K.R.P. Shenoy, so he gave lot of support to me, and I was able to maneuver the entire culture as well as structure there and move things. And we were eventually, we got 3 successful years. We got the IDMA Quality Excellence Awards there.
I see that you have a certificate from IIM Bangalore.
Yeah, right.
So how did that shape your careers?
When I joined Kemwell, there was a discussion with my chairman, Mr. Anurag Bagaria. So there were certain courses in IIM Bangalore. So it was, we were deputed there. In fact, me and one more operation said we were deputed. It was a period of 1 year where some costs were borne by us and some costs were by the company. So this gave a complete, what you call, a shift, being from technical. How do we orient technical aspects to business? So how do we run a business? What are the resources required for the business? There were several great professors, I can tell you, and that was a time my orientation towards aligning to the business of the company is also equally important. Unlike other quality leaders, we need to look what company wants. Finally, it's all about patient safety and profitability, of course. So we got a lot of business acumen being in Kemwell and learning from the IIM Bangalore.
So when you started your journey in the quality department, what did it mean to you when you started, and how did it evolve as and when you progressed the journey?
Yeah, when I started, it was more related to the basic learning procedure, setting up of procedures. But as we proceed, when you handle multiple sites, it's all about people, it's all about people management, it is all about integrations of the quality systems across the sites. So I handed the last assignment was with Granules, where I was handling about 7 sites within Hyderabad and Vizag. So integration of quality systems, understanding people basically, and how do we penetrate and percolate these quality systems, and how do we bring the right culture within the people. And the technical is one important aspect, but the people management and other managerial skills takes over as we grow up in the organization.
Absolutely. So, if given a choice at that time, would you have chosen the quality department, or would you have wanted to get into some other departments?
No, no, I always preferred quality at that point of time. And even today, I feel this is one function, though it is not very much liked by the people, but it's the most important function where we can play a vital role. The challenges are different, the risks are equally different, but at the same time, the satisfaction what we get in bringing the right quality, getting regulatory approvals, and having contributed towards the introduction of products to the market, it's a complete different experience in quality.
Sir, after the certification, maintaining the responsibility of the quality department and managing people, how did these two roles did you manage? And
Yeah, once a certification is there, see, GMPs are always evolving, quality standards are always needs to be upgraded. So the expectation from the international regulatory bodies are also changing day by day, and of course that's the right spirit. And understanding the new guidelines, converting that into the local procedures as per the company's requirement, and also meet the regulatory guidelines is extremely important. So let me quote one example of a nitrosamine, which was a shock to the industry as such. The nitrosamine guideline came somewhere in about 2019, where products like ranitidine were off the shelf actually. So they're not able to meet the nitrosamine standards. Especially when these kind of guidelines come, the challenge is in how fast the company upgrades its quality standards, how fast the company along with the cross functional team and R&D upgrades
Yes.
their systems, procedures and the analytical methods is a big challenge, and that is also a speed in that.
So I see that in 2003 you had joined Neopharma in Abu Dhabi. So how did that change take place, and what was your experience during that journey?
Yeah, until I was in India, I was responsible for only I had exposure in QC and QA. The moment I joined in Neopharma, I was also given an additional responsibility of regulatory affairs at the time of joining. So this was a complete new setup. It was a multi-billion-dollar group of NMC, and Neopharma was one part of manufacturing actually. So it was a new setup where I had an opportunity to meet Dr. Abdul Kalam. He came for the
Oh,
inauguration.
that's really
So
interesting.
uh,
That's really
that's very
interesting.
interesting, and it's I'm blessed. I can tell you,
Yeah.
having met him within a year of joining the company, and had an opportunity to take him around the plant,
Oh,
and
wow.
I do have pictures of that. I cherish those memories with Dr. Abdul Kalam. The kind of curiosity which he was asking questions, especially on the HPLC part. What does the detector do? What does this pump do? Though he's a big scientist and the president of the country, his curiosity in these basic science and things phenomenal actually. So it was very, what do you call, I was blessed, I can tell you. And also the regulatory challenges and the UAE Ministry of Health. I was instrumental in submitting more than 300 dossiers across GCC in a span of 4 years, and we were the first to get a European Union approval from Brussels. Actually, that's from Belgium Health Authority, and they had never inspected a GCC facility, and ours was the first facility to get a European GMP certification. So I traveled to Brussels along with our MD and CEO, Dr. B.R. Shetty. We had a 4 hours meeting with them, making all presentations about the company, the facility, the salient features, and somehow they told that we look into the entire situation and come. Within 2 months after our submission, we were lucky to have them visiting us and auditing us and giving us a certification.
So coming to the regulatory environments, so before joining Neopharma, were you prepared for the regulatory changes that was there? Because the Indian regulatory environment in comparison to Abu Dhabi, it must have been quite a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Because as I told you, I was part of quality function, but never had an exposure to regulatory other than the coordination and the discussions which we used to have with regulatory. A complete picture of regulatory guidelines was not there. But when I moved, I started learning about the GCC regulations, the Ministry of Health UAE regulations. You name any country there, the Kuwait regulations are different, the Libya regulations are different. So
Yes.
every regulation had to be learnt, and we started preparing dossiers accordingly. And incidentally, we were the first as per the IMS data in terms of the number of new products launched every year. For the entire span of 4 years, I stayed there. We were number one in the entire ministry, where we were submitting multiple dossiers at the same time.
So you were already prepared before you had joined. So it's like prevention is better than cure.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's a challenge, right? We get to go to new country, learn things there, implement there, and get satisfaction, and that's a success, I believe.
Absolutely, sir. So when it comes to scaling up quality in a pharmaceutical company, how do you look at that, and what is your point of view about it?
Yeah. In terms of first is quality system implementation. Second is training, development, and making people understand about the quality systems. Third thing is scaling up. The situations are different from single site companies and the multi-location facilities. So if, as I told you earlier also, when you have things to be implemented across sites,
Mm.
the challenges are different.
Yes.
You cannot implement a procedure without the consensus of the site activities, without the site people's consensus. It becomes more challenging. We have to understand how the each site functions, and how do we integrate all these things into a corporate quality procedures, and how do we harmonize. Harmonization is a big activity, and bringing all people together and making them understand the importance, and at the same time putting the systems which is one across the company, When we look at corporate, it's about having common systems across the companies. You can't have site specific procedures for different sites actually. So that's a big challenge, and that's all a learning, and in this process you make others also learn the current regulatory guidelines and the expectations.
Sir, you've been working in Granules India for quite some time, and you've recently stepped down. Maybe know the reason, and uh,
Yeah,
I'm
I
sure they
was
would be losing a leader from the
yeah, I was
organization.
part of the leadership team there. I worked for 5.5 years as a corporate quality head, managing their multiple sites and with several regulatory approvals. I had some personal challenges where I had to balance, so that was the main reason I had to come back. It's more related to health of family and other aspects.
So, if you had to choose the best experience that you've had from Cipla to Astra to Neopharma uh, to Granules, which one would you quote and why?
Uh, every company's experience is different, of
Sure.
course, because the demand of the top management in each company is different. So there are certain let down principles within which we have to work actually. When it comes to my journey in Kemwell, I rate it as very good, excellent, because I had a free hand reporting to the chairman from a domestic company which was a CDMO kind of a thing, handling 50 large multinational companies at the same time. And we were one of the largest contract manufacturing companies. I worked there for almost 8 years, and managing multinational companies, understanding their expectations, building their quality expectations and agreement clauses into our quality systems, and having their transfers done in time as per their expectation. It was a phenomenal experience, I can tell you. And from a domestic company, we brought it to the level of international
International.
regulatory, where we had approvals from US, Europe, Japan, name any country, we had approvals. That was the most satisfying period.
So, like moving into the instrumental aspects, you were talking about HPLC and other chromatographic techniques. So, over the years, you would have seen the upgradation of all these
Yeah,
analytical
right.
instruments. How do you see them evolve more in future uh, with respect to upscaling of the quality as well?
Yeah. So when I started working in quality control way back in 92, we had an HPLC where we had to inject.
Yes.
We had to take the samples. We had to inject through an injector, which is a Rheodine injector. We used to inject into the HPLC system. The graphs, if you see, it was manual
Manual, yes.
chromatograms which used to be there. So it evolved. Like if you look at the HPLCs today, the GCs today, the entire chromatography is upgraded in a very significant way, and many of the big companies who are into chromatography, they are selling some 20,000, 30,000 systems, I can tell you. So I don't want to name companies, but that is the upgrade which is there. Every integration, audit trail, see, there's again, I call it as a expectation from the regulators, and how the industry is also coping up
True.
along with the vendors of these instruments. So there's a complete audit trail systems which are phenomenal today, I can tell you. And from chromatography, now we have other than HPLC, GC, we have into LCMS. In
LCMS.
LCMS, we are into all triple quadrupoles. This is one of the sophisticated instruments we have. Now, as to answer your question straight, a lot of discussions are going on the artificial intelligence into the how do we integrate that. So that's one which is coming up. So analytical is one where it takes a lot of time.
Very
The
true.
tests are more destructive. Now if you see, technologies are coming into a non-destructive type, where even a content uniformity, you can scan a tablet and say what's the content uniformity. You can scan tablets and say what's the assay content. Industry is evolving into that level of automation and standards.
So, on that note, do you see as a possibility where now we have handheld analytical instruments coming up? So, do you see a future like that when it comes to chromatographic techniques as well?
Chromatographies are already in a very advanced stage actually, but other instruments, be it a polarimeter or a UV, these have gone into a different level even today. There are no more
Yes.
instruments except for the glasswares what you use, like solubility and other
Yes.
things, which are completely manual. But every instrumentation as an audit trail, every instrumentation is into automation today, and it's an evolve. If you see the journey of last 33 years, things have evolved in the industry actually.
Nice. So, you have written publicly about QMS overload, 10 traps that bury teams. So, Where does this philosophy come, and could you just throw some light on that?
See, one of the biggest challenge, if you look at, is the people management. If the people are not comfortable, they ensure that things are not implemented in the fullest possible things for which it is designed for. So, one is understanding people is extremely important. The QMS should also be in such a way that the moment you get into digitalization, it should be operator friendly, it should be convenient to the users. So, once the buy-in is there from the users, actually the implementation success is much far better, and the results which an organization gets is far better. So, that is the reason you should not burden the people with too much of manual documentation. So, make it very user friendly procedures, user friendly systems. There is a statement which I would like to quote here: quality standards are not negotiable,
Yes.
but the way to achieve quality is negotiable. So, that means you can't compromise on the standards. So, the procedures should be written in such a way you are not compromising the guidelines. So, you are meeting the expectation, but operationally it should be convenient to the users.
That is very well said, sir. So, when coming to the management aspect, what are the top three rules or goals that you would actually suggest a team to manage in such kind of a quality environment?
Yeah, one thing I would like to tell is everybody should be passionate about the activities which they do. So, this is what I see a biggest drawback, and once they are passionate, they should be doing something new on a monthly basis. So, if each site manages their own quality metrics, for example, and the kind of metrics which they measure, the targets which they take, that there should be scope for continuous improvement. So, our entire pharmaceutical industry talks, and quality is nothing about continuous improvements. So, they have to improve on what the baseline was for the previous year, and what are the activities to be taken, what are the actions to be taken to achieve a next level of the metrics. And I have instrumental in setting up a entire quality scorecard for the entire granules across the global level, and there were about 75 or 76 parameters which we have taken, which we were measuring, which we call as a quality scorecard, be it in the areas of compliance, be it in the area of audits, be it in the area of QMS, be it in the area of the efficiencies. So, everything was built into a scorecard where a click of a button you get which function is doing well, which parameter is doing well, how was it last year, how is it this month when compared to the last year's average. So, it gives a challenge across the sites to be more competitive and take more initiatives for improvements.
Sir, on the team management aspect, do you see a change in the scientific temper of people from who would have worked with a lot of people at various designations? So, do you see a change in their attitude or scientific temper from the time you've started till now?
Absolutely, I can tell you, in Cipla we were taught with the basics. The training was something, I am talking about 34 years back, the training was from the basics. Today, if you go to an auditor, ask, I am just giving some example, if your auditor asks what is the definition of a pH, I do not think the analyst will be in a position to explain or define the definition of a pH actually. So, people talk very differently now, the fundamentals are not strong. So, this is the disconnect which is happening in companies. So, the training, the competency development as we call, should be from the basics actually.
Would you think the digitalization has caused a little bit of a disadvantage on that
It's
aspect?
not only digitalization in my personal view, it is the attitude of people. So, once we correct that attitude as an organization level and make these as a daily requirement in the level where they have to pass these things, there will be upgradation on the technical aspects. Otherwise, people do their job, but without understanding the principles and the scientific acumen of these aspects.
So, what do you believe about building a quality system, and how can you do that?
Quality system, first thing, as I told you, quality standards are not negotiable. Okay, in terms of defining procedures, the procedures have to be user friendly, the procedures have to meet the regulatory expectation, that is the basic thing, and there should not be compromise anything on the patient safety. So, your procedures should be defined in such a way the integrity levels are taken care, there should not be any scope for the poor data integrity as we say, and at the same time it should meet the regulatory expectations, and it should be circulated to the people, take everybody's buy-in and see what industry is doing for every activity and how you can upgrade. So you have to consider all these factors so that you are ahead of the curve in terms of quality systems.
So, when it comes to quality control leadership, what all challenges do you think one generally faces, and how can one combat that?
In terms of challenges, there are multi challenges I can tell. One is on the competency of people. Second is alignment of people towards a common goal, bringing all people towards what you call achieving a common objective, understanding the regulatory expectations on a regular basis, and I call it as a changing regulatory scenarios. How do we cope up with all these things, and how do we have systems much before the regulatory comes, and how do we bring all these advances technologies into built into the quality design is one activity which has to be considered. And the speed in which these systems are implemented, trained and made it effective plays a big role actually. Learning from 483 inspection, there are multiple inspections happen. What is that happening in other companies? What are the regulators seeing in other companies? How do we bring a dashboard to that? So just to tell you, we have McKinsey's report on several quality metrics. So if you can always consider a benchmark, we call it as benchmarking. So how do we benchmark our quality standards with respect to the other industries? So there should be continuous evaluation, a methodology and a tool to measure this first. That's most
Absolutely.
important. Then what is that today we are, and where do we want to go, and how do we measure that? Today a lot of efforts are being put, but there's no methodology of measuring these improvements. So how do we quantify, be it a quality scorecard, a quality metrics? So everything is extremely important.
Sir, on that note, then how do you see the landscape of quality changing in the coming few years?
Absolutely. If you really see in last 10, 12 years, I can tell there's a quality culture emphasis is much bigger. So it's a accumulation of all these quality metrics, okay, accumulation of the activities, accumulation of how your QMS is performing. Those are indicators which directly talks about your quality culture in the organization. So how there are a lot of focus by all the companies, I can tell the industry has evolved, and we are one industry where we cope up to the regulators expectation in a very short span. So a lot of things have been done on quality culture. Even today a lot of discussions are happening, lot of forums like this, lot of discussions on quality culture, and every person, every company wants to do better in terms of their company.
So, talking about changing and evolution happening in quality, having the introduction of AI into the system in every domain now, what are the benefits that you see and what are the threats that you actually see?
I don't think any threats are there. It's all about adaptability. If you look at the QMS as such, when the first tools like managing change controls, managing deviations, managing OOS, managing the training in terms of the training software, these were very different when it came. It is people's adaptability, the management's commitment and people's adaptability. When these are merged together, it becomes easy. So it's only the beginning hiccups which are there. And yesterday we attended a session of artificial intelligence, and it's all about mindset. So once you shift this mindset, I think there will be a lot of scope for, and we can move from cost to value also in terms of implementation.
That is a very positive attitude to have, that you keep changing with the changes that are happening
Absolutely.
around.
That's I call adaptability.
Yes. So, for the coming generation who would want to take a very similar path like yours, what advice would you give them?
One is this is the industry where a lot of patience is required. Okay, everybody, I don't want to compare industries, and people want to have fast money. Everybody wants to become a managing director in a short span. It's impossible. And this is one industry where lot of efforts have to be put. Right from the days you are an executive, lot of efforts have to be put. You have to be having the passion towards quality, passion towards pharmaceutical operations, and see how you can upgrade, learn every day, keep learning curve as a top priority. That's most important rather than salaries and designations and
Very
other
true.
things.
Very well said, sir. Sir, looking back at your career, what are those career defining moments that you can actually recall, which you will probably never forget?
Yeah, I was basically into quality control for the first 3 years, and my potential was identified in Cipla. I was made as a site quality head, a site QA head rather. So once I became QA, then I understood there's a lot of activities under the scope and under the umbrella of QA which can be done. Then slowly I started learning many things, okay, much ahead of the people around me. Then got into corporate QA role in many of the things. Incidentally, I can talk about my experience. I have experience in APIs, I have experience in oral solids, especially liquids. We were instrumental in Kemwell. We were one of the largest liquid manufacturing companies across India. We set up a very big facility with almost 15,000 liters batch size. So I have experience in biotech, experience in sterile, so experience in CDMO. So I've completed the gamut of the entire pharmaceutical value chain as of now. So that's one of the learning curves in my career actually.
That is really inspiring. I'm sure the coming generation would look up to people like you and would want to
Hope
learn
so.
more. Yeah. So we have a small rapid fire
Yeah, sure.
session. So Cipla versus granule quality culture, which is the biggest difference that you would say in one sentence?
So every company is different actually. Cipla is one where quality is built into the design. Okay, that is how things are. Everybody is into quality there.
Okay. CDMO versus integrated pharma quality, which is harder to lead?
A CDMO,
Why, sir?
because you have quality agreements with different customers. So your procedures have to be aligned with the commitments there. So let me give an example of a particular SOP. You may have some defined timelines for a quality event, but the customer's expectation as per their global policies will be different. So how do we integrate those quality requirements into, which is again signed in the agreements, into your quality system? And there are multiple audits all the time. Every time the expectations of customers are different. So how do we cope up our quality systems in line with their agreements is a big
All right. So, Abu Dhabi 2003, one thing that environment had taught you that India hadn't.
infrastructure. One of the best infrastructure was in Abu Dhabi.
Do you think we would uh, become like that soon, or we have already
No, we
become?
are already actually, if you look at all the facilities in India for the last 20 years, I can tell, or 20 plus years, the right from design, lot of importance is given for the facility design itself, right from the URS, the kind of upgrade which companies are doing is phenomenal.
Phase appropriate QMS. What can you tell about the QMS regulation in just one sentence?
Quality standards are not negotiable, but the ways to achieve quality is negotiable.
US FDA versus WHO versus EMA. Which is the most demanding thing to actually satisfy?
FDA.
Why, sir?
Uh, FDA also comes up with a lot of observations. What do you call? More or less, all guidelines are similar, but the expectations of FDA is always different in audits. You must have seen all the 483s. Companies have to keep evolving. There are a lot of emphasis on the documentation, lot of emphasis on the root cause. So documentation approach is much higher in FDA when compared to the Europe. Europe is more pragmatic, they get into the systems, but here investigations and other things, lot of importance is given.
Okay. You're 7 years at Kemwell. One thing CDMO quality teaches that conventional pharma doesn't.
Adaptability.
One thing Indian pharma still gets wrong about quality.
They believe it's a policeman's job.
Okay. Advice to your 1992 self at Cipla.
I should have much more patience at that point of time and stayed in Shipla for a longer period.
Wow. Okay. So 33 years, 9 companies, every function that you've uh, not just entered, you have succeeded in the pharmaceutical quality. What has this actually been about, and what does it actually mean to you?
It's more about individual passion, the passion which we carry in our life actually towards achieving newer things, learning newer things, adapting those things, implementation. These were some of the things which I adapted myself when compared to many of the peoples in the same cadre.
So standing today, what do you see in your future vision from this journey
No,
ahead?
I moved from an typical employee. Now I am into a consultancy firm. I would like to keep a vision where the learning and development is given a lot of importance. So I'm working with many organizations in terms of the skill development part, so that there is some contribution to the industry in developing of skills which is lacking today.
That's really nice, sir. So, how can one benefit by attending events like Analytical Lab India?
See, this is a platform wherein several exhibitors are coming. That's one part. Second, the topics which we select as a PAM, also part of National Advisory Committee for Anacon here. So we select topics which are most relevant today, which is to the industry. Yesterday, you must have seen a lot of topics on artificial intelligence
Yes.
and how industry gears up. All the experts come, they express their views. Even few things which we learn and we implement in our own companies, it will be phenomenal growth for the pharmaceutical industry.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for joining.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for inviting me.
Thank you.